Izea, an American company listed on the NASDAQ, is the global leader in developing influencer marketing technology, data and related services. It's credited with inventing the term influencer marketing. Izea has made its first foray into the Oceania region, acquiring Huzu, which is considered Australia's leading influencer marketing company. This acquisition marks a crucial milestone for Izea's global expansion into the Asia-Pacific region and signifies a new chapter in the ever-evolving creator economy. Our guests today are Ryan Schramm, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Izea, and Natalie Goldings, the CEO of Huzu.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, speaking of being here, Ryan, welcome to Australia.
It's my first visit, certainly not my last.
Your first
I know.
visit?
It's a big week.
How's it taken so long to get you here?
Good question. It's truly unacceptable. If teleportation were more of a reality, I'd be here every day. It'd be great.
And we've put on some lovely weather for you.
Very much so. My SPF is making my face nice and shiny for our video today, but I'm really happy to be here. The weather's beautiful.
So, Ryan, tell us, what does bring you out to Australia?
Well, it's been a big week for us, and really it's the dawn of a new day for the creator economy, in that Izea announced the acquisition of Huzu, which is based here in Sydney, but also with great staff in Melbourne, and is one of the market leaders in the creator economy.
What just stood out in that sentence was Melbourne. You pronounced it correctly.
You
didn't drag that out.
Why, thank you.
Well done.
Not Melbourne.
Not Melbourne. No. Melbourne. Well done.
Thank you. I'm trying to learn.
Natalie, tell us about this acquisition. What does it mean and how exciting is it?
Well, look, we've been in this space for some time and it's only getting bigger. It's accelerating at an enormous amount, and we have a really lovely pool of terrific clients that are dedicating big portions of their marketing budget to influencer marketing, and it's just going up and up a ring. So from an acquisition perspective, having someone to partner with and align with that is already so far along the journey in a much grander market was hugely appealing to my very passionate team.
Influencer marketing, the word you just sort of touched on there. We hear a lot about it. What is influencer marketing?
Well, at its foundation, obviously, it is around word of mouth marketing. That's always been a powerful engine for driving demand for any kind of product. But I guess with the development of social media platforms and these people growing these really engaged audiences that they share, talk to and connect with on a 24-hour basis, we recognised very early on in the 2000s that was going to be something worth tapping into. So really people sharing their real life moments and finding those moments that can intertwine with your product and service. And we see incredible results from audience reach, but also sell through to actual conversions with creators on a daily basis. So influencer marketing.
It's really changed the dynamic of business and marketing, hasn't it, Ryan?
Very much so. I think that the idea of democratizing the advertising industry is such a powerful thing. Because when you stop and think about it, the bid tactics from the last 50 to 100 years have all been mostly broadcast, or at least one to many. Now you have this movement in the creator economy of many to many. So now you have content being created that represents the diverse nature of the Australian economy, and voices that are telling these authentic stories like Nat was sharing in their own voice, in their own mentality on behalf of a brand. It's equal parts empowering, but it's also unlocked a tremendous economic opportunity for everyday individuals.
Well, speaking of brands, for those not familiar with Izea, the business, how it works, tell us a little bit about it. What does it do?
Sure. So Izea is a creator economy holding company, and we are based on the predication that there are needs from worldwide brands to do professional services, to provide enterprise software, and other marketplace solutions for creators themselves. We were born in 2006 in the state-of-the-art times of a little-known platform named MySpace. That was really the heyday. It was the TikTok of its day. Let's give it its credit where credit is due. But ever since then, we've been really had the opportunity to be continual innovators in the space. And today, we are the largest player in the creator economy. And this is our first entry into the Australian market and the broader Oceania region as well.
Why did you want to tap into that Australian market?
Well, firstly, I think it's important to underscore that the Australian creator economy is not just strong, it's robust. Research indicates that it's roughly a $250 million sized market today. And when you look at companies like Huzu that have not just been around for a cup of coffee, but nearly a decade, leading with excellence, and you talk then to leading Australian brands, what they say is that expertise matters more now than ever before in this industry. And credibility is equally key. So you put that together, and it's not rocket science to say that, gosh, you want to be able to find a market leader like Natalie's team at Huzu and make it a part of the broader group of companies.
So from Huzu's perspective, what does it mean for the company's global expansion plans?
Well, for us, obviously, more and more of the briefs that come through from a brand perspective have a global orientation, particularly in the Asia Pacific. And of course, Australian brands, they love to be bleeding edge and they always want to be on top of the latest trends that are happening overseas. And, you know, I guess from an influencer marketing perspective, it's often just one tiny line item. You know, brands are on a journey as to where they are at on that journey. It very, very much differs. But for us, this gives us the opportunity to bring world-first technology that's built for the industry. I think a lot of people have tried to play in that space but have never actually been under the bonnet of what it's like. I remember my first 6 months in as a dedicated specialist influencer marketing, my brain was rolling around in my head, you know, because we're really trying to marry up human people, human creators, their real life. They're often trying to do it around their families and their homes and their actual day-to-day. Marrying that up with data, metrics, timelines, often briefs that were full of jargon. No one had translated it into English so that people could really be empowered to be able to deliver that message. It really made a big difference for us to be able to do that on a grander scale with a partner who's already been very proactive in the market and pioneers, quite frankly.
So how do you see Izea working with Huzu in this next chapter and leveraging the goodwill and the experience that's already well established?
Well, for us, we're so fortunate. The first step that most companies don't have the luxury of that we do is having a great team in place and such a strong reputation. The clientele that Huzu has built over its years are the blue chip brands that every Aussie knows and loves. And that truly is one of the most important things to start with. From there, though, we see Huzu as being a pillar, we refer to as a principal company, for us to be able to grow its capabilities in that broader APAC region, like Natalie was saying, but also to be a vehicle for further acquisitions, because what we see in the Australian market in particular is a huge amount of fragmentation. And we believe that consolidation in the creator economy is not only logical, but inevitable. So we'd rather lead that versus follow it.
Where do you see the creator economy heading, Natalie?
From my perspective, we are seeing a huge amount of adoption in an always-on capacity. So where brands might have done it in a tactical, ad hoc way in the past, just sort of dip their toe in. They're rolling this into their entire marketing calendar, seeing the benefits of being able to optimize activity over time, having multiple tiers and layers to that program that you treat very differently for different objectives and purposes. So probably more sophistication and more complexity and more scale.
So therefore, how are companies, big, small, all over the world, using businesses like Izea and Huzu? Perhaps give us some examples of how budgets are changing, how approach to budgets are changing as well. Obviously, we're in a very different climate these days.
Very much so. But what's really exciting is when you zoom out a couple of clicks, you look at this space globally, depending on which measure you wish to look at, the creator economy is going to be anywhere between a $25 billion US to $32 billion US space next year in 2024.
Wow.
So the addressable market is absolutely massive. But all the dynamics that we see here in Australia play out in almost every corner of the world. And the large brands that you're asking about, they're investing more than ever before, but they're also saying to companies like Huzu and Izea to be able to execute something multinationally or ideally globally right now is like herding stray cats and dogs, right? It's almost impossible to put something together and not have it have tremendous inefficiency. So what we see as the opportunity is taking the foundation that we originally built in North America, grew to the UK and other parts of Asia, and starting to fuse it together with other best-in-class businesses that we either build ourselves and extend upon or buy. And so those abilities to help service the need of global leading brands starts to connect the dots of an expressed client need to being the first in market and best in market to solve that problem.
Natalie, can you share some of the specific strategies or initiatives that you have in mind, as we approach the new year and this next chapter, to further expand within the market?
Look, all of our tests that we've been doing over the last 12 months, when you put creator content created by a real person against a traditional brand asset that a brand has probably spent a good deal of time, energy and money to work, the performance can be 2-3 times better. And so for us, we really want to be able to de-silo. Like Ryan said, it's quite fragmented. It can be a last minute thought. Bring all of those moving pieces together so that they're maximising the opportunities and leveraging all of the possibilities that creative content can do for their organizations. Humans at the heart of their brand strategy. I think once upon a time it was kind of 5 people in a room, maybe 5, 10 people, creative people in a room will come up with a top line creative message that they will proliferate out over a number of channels. This is the complete reverse of that. And as far as across the entire ecosystem, we know it performs much, much better from a ROI perspective. So for us, that's a big, big piece for 2024.
Why do you think it does perform so much better?
Look, the number one reason people follow influencers is they feel like they're catching up with a friend. It's like anything I've got in Sydney. I'm Melbourne-based, and every time I come to Sydney, the weather's very different, and so I've got to be really cautious for my mascara. And I go and ask people and go and read online around, okay, what do I need to use to stop that damn black circle under my eyes, right?
It's true.
So I could go and watch a TVC and, I've been burnt many times and I'm sure there's a number of consumers that are in the same spot where you buy it and it doesn't really live up to what it does. But an influencer tries and, test drives it for you, gives you the actual recommendation and even shows you how to use it properly. For me, that's the priceless reason why influencers are so powerful.
And it's that ability to reach out to the influencer as well, because I know that was a great example, by the way, the mascara, great example. Sunscreens, moisturize. Look, the list is endless, but it's the ability to reach out to that that particular influencer and have a conversation with someone who has actually experienced the product, tried the product, could say yes, could say no. They're so well versed in it, but they're a real person.
Yeah, the same thing goes for nappies, sunscreen. I mean, my skincare routine used to be slap on some moisturizer in the morning. There is not just steps, there's stages of steps.
Yeah.
And you look great.
Yeah.
By the way, let's talk about that later.
And I go into a store and I'm completely overwhelmed.
Yes.
Whereas one of my favorite creators, she has laid up every single process so I'm maximizing the investment, and it's an investment on my skincare. So that's just another example. It's just really practical, but I think that makes the world of difference when it comes to products and marketing and why they're so powerful.
And what about your skincare, Ryan?
I have some work to do. I am blotchy and greasy in this climate. I need to be following more people locally.
I'm going to give you some referrals.
Thank you. I'd appreciate those tips.
I've got some good ones for you too, don't worry. Look, Ryan, as a long-time leader in the influencer marketing industry, what role do you see Izea playing in shaping the future of influencer marketing and the creator economy globally, I should say?
No, I mean, the last 17 years, we've really stayed true to our initial focus, which was doing exactly what we've talked about here. How do you champion creators and meet brands where they are? And so as we look to the future, it's going to be very much focused on that exact same mission, albeit at a larger scale. And that, I think, just based on the conversations that we've had this week alone in market, is so well received, so over needed that brands, marketers are looking for that leader right now. So we're doing everything that we can to pour our thoughtfulness and our resources and use all of that tremendous knowledge from the last 17 years to the benefit of our clients and team members around the world. So it's a wonderfully exciting time. But I also think when we flash forward in the next 5 to 10 years, just think how much advertising is going to change, right? As chief marketing officers start to look more diverse and are women and not men perhaps by majority, the way that they're going to look to market looks a lot more at the creator economy than a TVC or something that their predecessors used to think were the best tactics. So we want to be the company that's first in line, first in mind for that need.
Moving forward, what advice would you give to aspiring creators or influencers even in terms of how they should look at the evolution of advertising, impact and influence?
Well, obviously, they tend to be incredibly creative and have a number of skills that I certainly don't possess. And so because of that particular discipline that they've grown, sometimes it's by mistake, but often it's a really dedicated discipline to get really clever at delivering something to an audience that is really well received, but they might not put a business lens. So often the first conversation I'll have with a creator is, I want you to start thinking about this from a business perspective, because brands, they move very quickly. They often have, these days it's 52-week cycles. And so they really need you to have your act together. You need to be clear and make yourself aware of some of the phrasing and objectives that they're setting so that you can really responsibly deliver to the brief, but in your own way. So empowerment for them so that they're taking this quite seriously, because the demand on creators is huge. And so they're getting approached at enormous rates. And so that can be a little bit jarring, but they do need to think strategically about this, because it can absolutely be a long-term career for them.
I think people underestimate just what work does go into to this line of work for the influencers, don't they? Because they do have to continue that creativity day in, day out, but stay true to themselves, their brand. And a lot of the time it's that realness that is so approachable and so well respected by the brands, but the consumer.
Otherwise, they can just do product placement. But there's so many more layers to get that right. Ideation, feedback, being able to come up with a number of concepts and collaborate with the brand. That takes a bit of bravery if you've not been exposed to that environment. Very few of them actually come from a marketing or PR background, actually. So these are there's new terminology, new deadlines, new pressure. Really become accustomed to that, and they go very far.
So Ryan, tell us, what are you looking forward to in 2024? It's just around the corner.
Well, gosh, there's so much to look forward to. I think we're seeing a number of huge trends that are meaningful to the market. First of all, this idea that integrated marketing is having a moment right now, right? The fact that we're thinking about the byproducts of the creator economy in such meaningful ways, the implied endorsement like Nat was talking about, the value of the content creation itself, all of the exposure that we call it the media math is the industry lingo, right? That comes from an investment inside of influencer marketing. Seeing that rise to the C-level conversation is going to change the landscape again in 2024. And then you look at other tactics that surround the creator economy. Certainly talent representation here in Australia is at an all-time high. We see that to only look to grow into the future, which is fantastic for creators and brands alike. But then there's other adjacent spaces to pure play influencer marketing that can also be really beneficial for brands. Like one of the things we're seeing right now is advocacy marketing, taking your customers and having them become your de facto influencers. And it's an and, not an or, because now you can have this very layered, very strategic approach to rounding out the kinds of relationships you form. And again, they become communal not one way. It's very different than getting an email newsletter, perhaps, or seeing an ad and clicking on it. Now you have this real human element, and that's the underpinnings of what the future beholds for us.
Is there a particular area you're noticing or anticipating will really take off in the new year?
Certainly, there's been things on the platform side that have been very interesting to observe in the last 12 months that would portend into the future. It's easy to say that TikTok will remain white hot for all intent and purpose, but we're also seeing other short form video platforms like YouTube Shorts also really coming into their own. And when you marry that together with YouTube being the number 3 search engine on the planet as well, it changes the way that we as consumers search from being a text box on Google to a how do I do this ... Whether it's makeup tips or I broke the door handle off my bathroom the other day, I had to put it back on and I'm not handy. You want to find those things and be able to celebrate those moments. And our industry is so well poised to be able to help brands be a part of that.
Natalie, before I let you go, what are you most looking forward to in 2024?
Well, more recently, we started our own talent management agency called Hume. So human and media intertwined. And I guess that opportunity came out of the missed opportunity where brands weren't necessarily telling a creator why they weren't chosen, or they weren't telling a creator why they loved that content and how it performed. And so for us, it's certainly been an acceleration year for creators, and they are kind of really owning it where it used to be the other way around. There's definitely a dynamic shift. So really being able to come to the table between creator and brand, what we've seen, that really delivers the best outcomes. So 2024 is a big year for that.
A big year indeed. It sounds so exciting. Thank you both for coming in. Ryan, so lovely to have you here in Australia.
It's been great.
We look forward to seeing you next time. Hopefully the weather's a little bit cooler next time around.
That would be great.
Maybe more time in Melbourne.
Maybe that too. Maybe that too.
That's true. Ryan Schramm and Natalie Giddings, thank you so much for joining us in studio. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.